Because his mom just asked me to accompany him somewhere at the time. I was like beside, behind, just looking around on the bike as well. On the bikes inside. At the exit, when you pull out, you stop, you look to the left, I look to the right. By the time you look to the left, I see a car just coming down block the entrance, pulled by the entrance.
You didn't just end one life, you effectively ended 5 lives, including your own.
That's the judge right there, handing down the sentence. Sean's killers got life, but one name keeps popping up, Robert Allen. And somehow he's already out after just 5 years. Now things are getting intense because X's mother, Cleopatra, is stepping right up and confronting him in public, and the internet is going absolutely wild over it. People are asking the same question non-stop. How is her son's killer already walking free? And what Cleopatra said in that moment, it hit so hard that it left people completely speechless. The tension, the emotion, the shock, it's all over social media right now, and everyone is locked in trying to figure out what really went down. So here's where things get messy. 50 bans and one terrible decision changed everything. Late March 2026 hits, and suddenly your whole timeline is flooded. Every blog, every media page, every outlet, from XXL to The Source to Hot New Hip Hop, is pushing the exact same headline.
All I wanted was like this. You don't come out the effing car. And he was like with a gun, digging. Give me the chain. Where's the chain? Give me the chain. How much time I don't know, but I heard something like exploding.
An explosion?
Yeah.
One of XXXTentacion's killers released from prison. It spreads fast and nobody slows down to question it. Daily Loud drops a clip and it explodes past 6.9 million views in what feels like hours. The comment section? Total chaos. Fans are heated, emotions are high, and people are saying things that would get shut down instantly if repeated here. The energy is intense and it just keeps building. But here's the twist that flips everything upside down. It wasn't even true. Or at best, it was old information being recycled like it just happened. Nobody stopped to fact check, nobody double-checked the timeline, and the story just kept spreading like wildfire. Because Robert Allen, the 4th person charged in the robbery and murder of Jahseh Onfroy, did not just get released in March 2026. Not even close. This man had already been out since October 26, 2023. That's over 2 full years of him being free, living a normal life, working a regular job.
Mr. Williams, you are the perfect example of why we have a law of principles in this state. You should understand that while you were dancing on that bed, throwing down those bills, you weren't throwing money down on the floor.
Moving like any everyday person. And somehow the entire internet missed it completely. Nobody checked the paperwork. Nobody pulled official records. Everybody just ran with the noise until one person finally looked into it. And suddenly, old news came back dressed up like breaking news all over again. The internet got played, and it spread fast. But if you really want to understand how this even happened, how someone tied to the murder of one of the most influential young artists the culture has ever seen and ended up back outside this quickly, you have to rewind the whole story. This didn't just happen overnight. Take it all the way back to Deerfield Beach, Florida. Back to a Louis Vuitton bag packed with 50 racks. Back to one reckless decision that changed everything for 4 grown men in the middle of the day.
You should think of that as you tossing down the days, weeks, and months of your life just like that. Like so many pieces of paper. Mr. Boatwright, you turned a robbery into a murder. And on that day when you stood there and fired that weapon,
June 18th, 2018, a Monday afternoon in South Florida. The heat was heavy, the sun was blazing down hard, and the air felt thick and uncomfortable. That's Jahseh Onfroy, known as XXXTentacion, was just 20 years old at the time, moving through a regular day that would turn tragic. Earlier that day, he walked into a Bank of America and withdrew $50,000 in cash, 500 crisp $100 bills. That money got placed into a black Louis Vuitton shoulder bag, just sitting there like it was nothing important. That same bag would end up becoming a key part of what happened next. he wasn't alone either. His step-uncle Leonard Kerr was with him. The two pulled up to Riva Motorsports in his black BMW i8, a car that stands out instantly. If you've ever seen one, you already know, it doesn't blend in at all. With those sharp lines and signature doors, it grabs attention without trying. And that attention mattered more than anyone realized, because someone had already noticed that exact car before. And it wasn't just a random memory. Dedrick Williams had spotted that same BMW i 8 months earlier at a probation office.
You didn't just end one life. You effectively ended 5 lives, including your own. That's your bed. And next to it is a stainless steel sink and a stainless steel toilet. That's the furniture that you have in that cell. You'll spend every hour and every day and every week and every year of your life in that cell.
That afternoon, Dedrick Williams was behind the wheel of a rented 2017 Dodge Journey, riding with the 3 other men, Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom, and Robert Allen. This wasn't just a casual drive either. They had a clear plan, Bubba says, from the start. They were out looking to commit robberies, armed and searching for anyone they could target. It wasn't about one specific person at first. It could have been anybody. But the second Williams spotted that BMW i8 sitting in the Riva Motorsports parking lot, everything changed. Anybody instantly turned into a $50,000 opportunity. That one moment shifted the entire direction of the day. Williams pulled the SUV into the lot, moving quick but calculated. He even pulled up an Instagram photo to confirm the car belonged to X. Once he knew, there was no hesitation. He and Robert Allen stepped out and walked straight into the dealership. And this part is chilling. They walked right past Jahseh Onfroy himself, who was inside casually checking out bikes with his uncle. No tension, no warning signs, just a normal moment that turned serious without him even knowing it. At the same time, Leonard Kerr later explained in court how he ended up there that day. He said he was only there because X's mother asked him to go along, just to keep him company while he looked at motorcycles. Nothing about that trip seemed unusual at all. Inside the store, X was relaxed, just going about his day. A young man with cash in his bag, talking with staff, checking out bikes, enjoying a regular afternoon like anyone else would. There was no sign of what was building outside those walls. Meanwhile, Williams, wearing a white tank top and bright orange sandals that stood out, grabbed 2 black ski masks from inside the store.
I genuinely believe that you are sorry for what you have done and not merely sorry for yourself. So on counts 1 and 2, this court will find you guilty, adjudicate you to be guilty, sentence you to 7 years in Florida State Prison.
That detail alone says a lot, and it was all caught clearly on the dealership's security cameras. After that, he and Allen walked back out to the vehicle, and that's when things got serious. According to Allen's later testimony, he tried to shut the whole thing down right there. He said, "I don't think it is a good idea. I just went in there and I am on camera." But Williams wasn't trying to hear any of that. Williams looked at the group and basically called them out, saying they were scared. That moment pushed everything over the edge, and then Boatwright locked it in with, "All right, we're gonna get him." Just like that, the decision was made and there was no turning back. They parked the Dodge Journey across from the north exit and waited. 10 minutes, maybe 30, just sitting there watching, saying almost nothing. That kind of patience only comes from people who have already decided what they're about to do. No hesitation left at all. Then the moment came. X walked out, got into his BMW with Leonard Kerr in the passenger seat, and started heading toward the exit like it was any normal move. But right as they pulled up, everything flipped in seconds. Williams suddenly drove the SUV straight in front of them and blocked the path completely. No space, no way around, no warning, just trapped right there at the exit. On the witness stand, Kerr described it as it happened. He explained how they pulled up, stopped, looked right, and before he could even react and look left, everything had already changed. That's when things escalated fast. Boatwright and Newsom, now wearing masks, jumped out of the vehicle and rushed toward the driver's side. The situation turned intense in an instant, and there was no confusion about what was happening anymore. Boatwright was holding a short-barreled rifle, and Newsom had a .22 semi-automatic. This wasn't just intimidation.
So it says change reopen status 10/26/2023. But I know how he's making money. I done picked it all up. So y'all can get mad at him and all that crap for being a part of it. He didn't pull the trigger.
This was serious, and it showed immediately. Kerr is sitting in the passenger seat with a gun pointed right at him. while on the driver's side, Newsom is pulling at X's chain and going through his pockets. The whole situation is happening fast, and X is trying to make sense of it, yelling, "What is this for?" That question just hangs there with no answer coming back. Think about that moment. 20 years old, stuck inside his own car, two masked men reaching in, grabbing at his chain and his bag, and he's asking a question nobody there planned to answer. "What is this for?" Kerr reacted the only way he could. He hit the button, the butterfly door swung open, and he ran. No hesitation, no looking back. He kept going until he heard what came next. The robbery was already done. The bag was taken, and at that point, there was no reason for anything else to happen. But Boatwright stepped back, looked directly at X, and still pulled the trigger. 2 shots hit X in the neck at a downward angle, causing critical injuries. He was rushed to Broward Health North, but despite everything, he was pronounced dead at 4:51 p.m., just 20 years old. Reports later confirmed that there were no drugs or alcohol in his system. He had simply been out living his day, doing normal things, and within hours, everything was gone. That same evening, the 4 men were back at Boatwright's place, dividing the money and showing it off online.
That was insane. Obviously, they had everything to do with it. These guys planned this. I still think this guy should have been behind bars for at least 10 to 15 years, maybe even 20 years. His aunt, DeAndre Ellis, said on behalf of the family that they are satisfied with the outcome. I say we are content as far as what the judge threw out for the sentencing.
Williams even recorded himself dancing on a bed, throwing cash into the air like it was nothing. The money got split. $15,000 each for Boatwright, Newsom, and Williams. Robert Allen got $5,000. As he later told the court, he claimed he wasn't fully involved in the robbery itself. $5,000. That's what his role added up to in a case tied to the loss of one of the biggest names in hip-hop. An amount that might cover a used car, but came tied to consequences that would follow him for the rest of his life. Or almost everything, depending on who you ask. This is where the story shifts into the part people still argue about, the cooperation, the courtroom moments, and the sentence that came with it. It didn't take long for everything to fall apart after that day. Dedrick Williams was arrested first on June 20th, just 2 days after the incident. And get this, he was still wearing those same bright orange sandals. The surveillance footage from Riva Motorsports had already locked him in. Between the cameras, his tattoos, his outfit, and cell phone data tracking the rented vehicle's movement through Deerfield Beach, the evidence stacked up fast. Then DNA results came back from the masks by the end of the summer. And just like that, all 4 men were sitting in Broward County Jail facing serious charges. The pressure was on and people were already speculating. Who was going to talk first? That answer came quickly. Robert Allen was arrested on July 26, 2018 at his sister's place in Dodge County, Georgia. And while others were keeping quiet in public, Allen took a different route once he was in that room with investigators. According to court records, he began sharing details early on. Names, movements, and a step-by-step account of what happened. All of it came out as the case started building. It became clear he was choosing to cooperate, and that decision would shape everything that followed. Now, he later admitted in court that some of his early statements weren't fully accurate. At first, he tried to minimize his own role, but the
you just talk so about little Gecko.
He's sweet. He's gorgeous.
core details he provided stayed consistent over time. That consistency played a major role in how the case unfolded. Robert Allen understood the situation he was in, and his decisions during that time would ultimately impact where he ended up years later. After about 4 years sitting in pretrial detention, Robert Allen made a move that changed everything. He accepted a plea deal, guilty to second-degree murder and armed robbery. That first-degree charge dropped as part of the agreement. In exchange, he had to take the stand and tell the full story, no holding back. And in February 2023, that's exactly what happened. 4 full days of testimony, going step by step through everything that went down, from the moment Williams spotted the BMW i8 to the final moments of the robbery. Every detail was laid out in court. Defense attorneys came at him hard during cross-examination. They tried to tear his story apart, calling him unreliable and accusing him of shaping his version of events just to avoid a life sentence. They pushed the idea that he was saying whatever he needed to save himself. But here's what made it complicated. His testimony didn't stand alone. Surveillance footage, cell phone data, DNA from the masks, and even images of the stolen money being shown off. All of it lined up with what he described.
As he grabbed the bag, shots are fired.
Who shoots the shots that are fired?
Michael Boatwright,
Where does he shoot him from? What side of the car?
driver.
So if XXX is in the driver's seat and Michael Boatwright is in the driver's side, the shots are coming onto XXX's left side or right side? Which side?
Yes.
It wasn't just words, there was evidence backing it up. Then came March 20th, 2023. The jury delivered the verdict guilty on all counts for Boatwright, Williams, and Newsom. That moment closed in fast, and the weight of it hit all at once. And right there in the courtroom, something happened that people still talk about. As the verdicts were being read, with Cleopatra Bernard sitting just feet away, Michael Boatwright turned toward the cameras, smirked, and blew a kiss. No hesitation, no visible regret, just that reaction in a moment where everything was on the line. It shocked the room. A first-degree murder conviction had just been read out, and instead of showing any emotion tied to the seriousness of it, he made a gesture that left people stunned and questioning everything they were seeing. The audacity was on another level, and it wasn't just a one-time moment either. Cleopatra later told TMZ that Boatwright had been blowing kisses at her throughout the entire trial. Week after week, sitting at the defendant's table making those gestures during one of the most serious moments imaginable. Then came sentencing day, April 6th, 2023. Judge Michael Usan addressed each man one by one, and the way he spoke was direct and precise. Every word landed with enough weight, and nothing about it was unclear. He started by laying it out plainly. Without Dedrick Williams, none of this would have happened. He pointed to the key actions: spotting the car, getting the masks, blocking the exit. The judge made it clear. Williams played a central role in setting everything in motion. Then came a line that stood out in a major way. The judge told Williams that every bill he had tossed in that video, every dollar he celebrated with, represented time he would never get back. The message hit hard. Those moments of celebration came at a cost that couldn't be undone. The judge didn't stop there. He turned his attention to Boatwright, paused for a moment, and then continued with words that carried just as much weight. He pointed out how multiple lives were impacted by that decision. One life lost and others now facing the consequences of choices made in that moment. The courtroom felt that shift. The energy changed as everything was being spelled out in real time, with no room for misunderstanding. And then, reality set in. Life moving forward would look completely different. No freedom, no outside world, just a controlled environment day after day. A space defined by routine, confinement.
As he's grabbing the bag, shots are fired.
Who shoots the shots that are fired?
Michael Boatwright.
And the long-term consequences of actions that can't be reversed. Boatwright ended up with 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 30 years stacked on top. No loopholes, no freedom window, nothing left to chance. Williams and Newsom both received life without parole as well. Final, locked in, no appeal system coming to save them. That was it for them in the legal sense. Meanwhile, Cleopatra had been waiting 5 long years for this exact moment. And when it finally arrived, she made sure the world felt it. She went straight to Instagram and posted, "God is good," with prayer hands right above the sentencing headlines. She even wore a shirt with Jahseh's face on it, writing, "I made sure you were present in the room." Then she went even further. In a TMZ interview, she referred to Boatwright with some of the harshest words ever heard from a grieving mother in a public setting, saying she hopes he gets the kiss he wants so bad behind bars, a direct reference to his courtroom behavior. And for Williams and Newsom, she didn't hold back either, saying she hoped they would retain a firm grasp on the slippery soap, a line that instantly went viral for its bluntness and edge. That moment showed the depth of what she had been carrying for years. A mother who lost her 20-year-old son, waited half a decade for justice, and delivered a message that echoed far beyond the courtroom. But just when the case seemed fully closed, a different outcome was still waiting to be decided. 5 weeks later, May 17th, 2023, Robert Allen stood in the same courtroom environment, facing his own sentencing. The same judge, the same case, but a very different position. Allen, the one who cooperated, the one who testified,
I think, if I'm not mistaken, all 3 of them have.
Trayvon Newsom do after he grabs the bag.
stood there waiting to hear what that decision had earned him. Judge Usan addressed him directly, and then came the sentence: 7 years. With credit for nearly 5 years already served in Broward County Jail, plus 20 years of probation afterward, the reality was clear. A man convicted of second-degree murder in a case tied to one of hip-hop's most talked-about tragedies was now stepping into a completely different legal outcome compared to the others. Most beloved young artist was gone, and in a twist that shocked people even more, One of the men tied to the case was about to be back outside before the next album cycle even hit. Free man, but moving like a goat. October 26, 2023. Robert Allen, the fourth man involved, walked out of a Florida correctional facility. No cameras waiting, no TMZ rush, no blog pages breaking the story in real time. Nothing. He just exited quietly, slipping out the back door of the justice system and into civilian life so smoothly that nobody online even caught it for over 2 years. No exaggeration. And the wild part? Nobody even realized until court documents started circulating in 2026.
Okay, so what was in the bag?
Money.
How much?
$50,000.
And the internet completely lost control over what was technically old information being treated like breaking news. Since his release, Allen's movements have been almost invisible. In fact, it's surprising how low-key everything has stayed. By September 2025, records show he was working as a truck driver, holding a CDL, and traveling for work across the United States. Judge Usun approved his interstate travel, with conditions. He had to check in with probation in person every 6 weeks and call in weekly while out of state. Even his home address was sealed from public records, with the court acknowledging concerns for his safety due to retaliation risks connected to his cooperation. That detail came straight from public court documents that later got dissected online by YouTubers, the same files that sparked the 2026 viral wave when people thought it was all new information. And from there, one line became the center of non-stop debate. The idea that he didn't pull the trigger turned into a dividing point in the entire conversation around the case. That single perspective split the fan base completely, becoming the kind of statement people still argue about in comment sections, group chats, and real-world conversations everywhere the case is discussed. There hasn't been a single public statement, interview, social media post, or media appearance from Robert Allen since the day he walked out. No IG, no Twitter, no TikTok, no podcast run, nothing at all. It's like he completely erased himself from the internet the second he got his freedom. The last words the public ever got from him are the ones he said in court, standing there face to face with the victim's family, basically saying that if he had to spend the rest of his life in prison, he would accept it. Then came the apology. Please forgive him. And whether that apology was real, emotional, or just a calculated move to secure a lighter sentence is exactly what the culture still can't agree on. It stays split right down the middle. One side says Allen was fully involved. He walked into that store, confirmed the target, helped move the plan forward, and walked away with money tied to a dead man's robbery. That's their position, no gray area. The other side pushes back hard. They say he never got out of the truck during the actual robbery, never held a weapon during the ambush, and never fired a shot. And without his cooperation and testimony, the 3 others might have still been locked up on life sentences with no movement at all. And look.
Somebody was like in shock. Besides Chucky, he was not in shock. That's what I said. Chucky wasn't in shock. He didn't really care.
The frustration people feel is real. This is a guy who was there at the scene, inside the situation. He benefited from it in some way, and now he's out here working a normal job, hauling freight across the country like nothing happened. Meanwhile, the other 3 men are never seeing freedom again, locked into life sentences with no exit no matter how long time passes. But then, when you hear the other side of the argument, everything gets more complicated and the debate doesn't really settle down. The legal side hits different. The practical side that doesn't care about emotion, only what actually holds up in court and locks in convictions. No feelings, just outcomes and evidence. Even X's own family was in that courtroom, nodding along and saying they were content with how everything played out. That detail matters because it shows how heavy the case had become, even for the people closest to it. And Cleopatra Bernard, the same mother who went full force on TMZ, called out Boatwright and had strong words for the other defendants, never once publicly addressed Robert Allen's May 2023 sentencing. Not a tweet, not an IG post, not a comment. And that's coming from someone who has never been shy about speaking her mind. All her attention stayed locked on tributes to her son. That silence around Allen stood out more than anything she could have said out loud. In a situation where she always had something to say, that quiet moment carried its own weight. Now here's where things really twist. While Allen is out moving like a ghost, living quiet, staying low, driving long-haul trucks somewhere across middle America, the man who actually pulled the trigger is still talking from behind bars. In October 2024, Boatwright somehow got access to Instagram from Martin Correctional Institution and posted that he wasn't the evil person people thought he was. Then he dropped a line that shook the internet, saying he was not sorry for anything he did.
The easiest way to start talking about the case you're under arrest for, which is XXX's case, let's talk about the car, the Dodge Journey.
Tagging it with hashtag it's still free me. The contrast is what really sticks. The man who is free, Robert Allen, hasn't said a single word since leaving prison. Meanwhile, the man serving life, Boatwright, keeps speaking from behind the wall. Allen showed remorse in court. Boatwright blew kisses and kept pushing a different energy. Allen apologized. Boatwright said he regrets nothing. That contrast alone says more than any testimony ever could. And while the internet keeps recycling old headlines, arguing in comment sections about justice, loyalty, and accountability, there's another reality sitting outside all of it. A young child in South Florida who just started the first grade, growing up in a world shaped by everything that came before. Jahseh Onfroy was born on January 26, 2019, just 7 months after his father was killed. That timing alone hits heavy, and his life has been shaped by that absence from the very start. He is being raised by his mother, Genesis Sanchez, and his grandmother, Cleopatra Bernard, under a cooperative arrangement that was settled privately after a custody dispute in 2020. By August 2025, he had already started first grade. People who see recent photos of him always say the same thing. He looks just like his father. That resemblance keeps the conversation around him constantly active, whether people mean to or not. In 2025, a content creator named Brandon Sloan had a chance encounter with him at a Target. Nothing staged, just a random real-world moment. He asked the young boy about his dad, and Jahseh, just 7 years old, said, "I love him."
All right, what kind of gun did Boatwright have?
I'm like small, real small.
Okay, well, like that, like a rifle or a handgun?
Right.
My dad went to a hospital. He didn't never make it. That's it. One simple sentence, but it carries everything a child understands about loss without fully understanding the world around it. It hits differently than any courtroom verdict or headline ever could. No legal language, no debate, just a child trying to explain something that changed his life forever. Meanwhile, Cleopatra Bernard, the same woman managing a massive estate, handling posthumous releases, lawsuits, and legacy projects tied to her son, has also spoken in interviews about her grandson, Jahseh, in a much softer, more grounded way. This is not the same public-facing version of her seen in viral clips or courtroom headlines. This is a grandmother talking about family, growth, and a child she is helping raise outside of all the noise. X himself had reportedly told his mother multiple times that he didn't think he would make it past 21. He died at 20. And now his son is growing up in a world where one of the men tied to that case is quietly driving trucks across America under a sealed identity, while the rest of the story still echoes through every layer of the situation. His father's shooter is still posting from prison with zero remorse, acting like nothing ever changed. At the same time, his father's music catalog continues to chart on streaming platforms more than half a decade after his passing. That contrast alone keeps the conversation alive in ways nobody can ignore. Robert Allen is technically free, but his situation is far from normal. His probation stretches all the way to approximately 2043.
Okay, and what happens is when they see him?
Check the cuts him off.
Okay, so you guys had to talk about something.
It was basically me talking to him. I was just, I'm gonna go to jail for the rest of my life. They're like, you'll be all right. It's not gonna happen to you.
He is legally barred from any contact with XXXTentacion's family, and his movements are heavily restricted under court supervision. His address is sealed under court order, meaning it is locked away from public records entirely. His social media presence is non-existent. No counts, no posts, no digital footprint at all. For all intents and purposes, he exists like a phantom, moving quietly through the edges of a story the culture still refuses to put down. And that's where the debate never really ends. Whether he deserved to walk free depends entirely on how you define justice itself. Is justice about punishment and making sure everyone involved suffers equally? Or is it about securing convictions by using the people who can provide the information needed to lock up the main actors, even if that means others walk away lighter? The street code says one thing, the courtroom says another, and neither one gives a clean, satisfying answer that everyone can agree on. But for the little boy in that Target store, the one who simply wants to understand why his father never came home from the hospital, that question sits outside all legal arguments. It is the only verdict in the Entire case that no one can appeal, no matter how much time passes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on this case and everything surrounding it.